Hi everyone, I'm Cindy. I'm going to start off by speaking briefly about my language learning experiences before discussing my focal topic and the essential question. So my target learning language is Spanish. I started learning Spanish in sixth grade, and I took the last class of Spanish in the fall of 2018. So I can kind of like divide my learning experiences into three parts: my middle school experience, my high school experience, and at the university level. So in middle school, a lot of our exercises included things like worksheets that test vocabulary. And so we worked a lot on activities from textbooks. A lot of this learning was memorizing because we need to know the basics. So like things that I think may have necessitated memorization, like letters, numbers, articles matching gender and number, and like common foods and places. So to me, that felt effective. But I was also choosing to learn Spanish as an elective, and I was choosing to learn it for fun. So this kind of teaching and learning may have been effective, but it was also 3 years just on vocabulary words. A lot of English learners are not choosing to learn English for fun, and they don't have the luxury of time as a lot of foreign language learners or like second language learners, such as myself, do. In high school, I took Spanish for both semesters my junior year, and that was like the most unproductive learning language course that I'd ever been in. My instructor was a white American lady who herself could not pronounce a lot of the words correctly. Additionally, her teaching methods were the same as what we were using at the beginner level. And so I think that's really harmful because we were advancing into grammar and like verb changing, and more importantly into like more cultural stuff. And so we shouldn't have still been doing any more of this like worksheet rote memorization kind of stuff. um, Fortunately, my school district had like roughly 60% Hispanic enrollment. So many of my friends, when I'd meet their families, would speak to me in Spanish, or going out to eat at local restaurants or shops. If I was going in a group, they speak to me in Spanish. So a lot more of my learning took place outside of the classroom than it was inside. Um, at the university level, my first year at Georgia State, I took an intermediate Spanish class. While my instructor was not very fluent in English herself, her understanding of conversational Spanish and knowledge about the culture of Spain itself and the way they socialize was really helpful in my learning. That following semester, the fall, I did a semester abroad in Barcelona, and this was where everything started to be more cohesive. Being forced to engage in dialogue proved more effective in sorting out my mistakes and fixing them than like any worksheets ever did. It made me feel more confident in my language usage because I like had to be. We did a lot of interactive learning. We'd go out to squares and engage with the people there by going to vendors to practice using the language. In class, a lot of our learning was by having to speak to a partner, and so both of us helping each other out in the places we had missing knowledge. Intercultural communication played a role in my identity because I was learning that the way I socialized with my Latin American friends, or my like specifically my Mexican friends, was like wildly different than my interactions with my Spanish friends. And so learning about the culture and their communication forced me to reevaluate my presentation in a conversation. As a language learner, I think that my greatest strength is also, unfortunately, my biggest weakness, which is my ability to rote memorize. I strongly believe that this alone is not helpful in true language acquisition. I think my ability to memorize vocabulary helps me spot the words I know while reading and listening, and using context clues to figure out the intent of expression, but not in wanting to express the language myself. So, like writing and speaking, it's not as successful. That experience overall reinforced my belief that learning and teaching is largely about interaction. And I think that you can measure progress, not necessarily success, by observing confidence. The want to use your skills means that you have something to show off and that you've achieved a goal and you're prideful in your work, which reinforces you to continue working. And the only way to improve is to try at it, and if you fail, to try again. So I believe that the role of a language teacher is to support and facilitate activities that will foster and encourage language usage both inside and outside of the classroom. The role of the student is to engage meaningfully, and by that I mean to ask questions, to practice content, and to interact with one another. Learning a language has influenced my language teaching by understanding that my most successful learning experiences were not from when I filled out worksheets and paperwork, but by talking to my neighbor and by having a teacher that created an environment that supported dialogue.